Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of the Cup of the Day podcast. You'll notice that I am not Nualaoch. I am Orion. Babz is missing tonight, but we do have Jorday back with us for this third edition of the podcast. Jorday returning once again. How you doing? How you
I'm
feeling?
good, man. It's cool. I'm a change of scenery and a change of faces in the podcast. I think one of the plans me and Babs originally had was to introduce a lot of people into the podcast, keep it fresh, and
Sure.
that's exactly what we got going on. It's really nice. But yeah, as you said, Babs unfortunately couldn't make it today, but
R.I.P.
that doesn't mean
Babz.
we're not going to have lots of content to share with you. We'll be starting off with an interview with Slay, I believe, is the owner of Into The Breach, and then later on we'll be interviewing the fan favorite Whizzy. Later on, I'm sure you'll all be excited for that. So yeah, make sure to carry on watching.
Yeah, well, we've got plenty to discuss today. We're going to start off. We're going to bring in Slay in a couple of moments, as you said, CEO of Into the Breach, who has recently gone into a partnership with British and Irish Trackmania, sponsoring the BIPC, providing the prize pool for that event. But they are most well known for their Trackmania Grand League team. And we'll be talking about how that came to be as well, how they were able to get their spot in Trackmania Grand League, signing of the players Mime and Elcon, and what's next for the future, and also what they want to be seeing as from an organization's point of view from Trackmania and Nadeo as an esport going forwards. And then, as you say, Slay will depart us, and we will bring in Whizzy, who will be talking mostly about British and Irish Trackmania. Obviously, that's kind of the nature of this podcast. Looking at BIPC with the seeding coming up this weekend and finals the weekend after. But then also just kind of interviewing Whizzy, getting a look at his background and also himself as a competitive player in TMGL, Trackmania World Tour, etc. So stay tuned if you want to listen to all of that good stuff. But I think we're about ready to bring in Slay. If he can hear me, say hello. Introduce
Hello.
yourself.
Yeah, I can hear you. Hello.
Great. Hi.
Hi. How's it going? Hey. Hello.
So you are Slay Sam. What do you prefer?
Yeah, Sam's fine. I mean, my full nickname or online name is Slay the Minotaur, but obviously that's quite my fault. And also pretty lame, so Sam is perfectly fine. That's what people generally call me, Sam. Yeah.
Just want to say thank you for coming on the podcast because I know you've had a very long day, and I'm sure you would have preferred to go to bed after such a long flight. But it's very very nice to have you here with us.
No problem. Yeah, it's been a bit of a rough one. Been in the airport quite a long time. I mean, the flight itself is super easy. Just from Stuttgart to London, it's like an hour and 45 minutes. Dead simple. It's just full of businessmen and like no tourists, so there's always seats, spare seats. But it would be very simple. But yeah, as mentioned before, there were, for anyone watching in Germany and France, you probably know that there was nationwide strikes there, and they shut down the airports, which unfortunately meant that all our CS:GO players, myself and the manager, coach as well, were stuck there for an extra day, and meant a lot of running around trying to reschedule flights, which were not available until kind of last minute. So yeah, a bit rough, but home now, and yeah, all good.
What were you there for in Germany?
So our CS:GO roster, who's also UK majority, is the top ranked UK roster in the UK and in Europe and the world generally. We were there training for the upcoming RMR, which is a qualifier / tournament in Copenhagen, to qualify for the upcoming Paris Major, which will be, if you know anything about Counter-Strike, will be the last Counter-Strike tournament ever.
Yeah.
Until CS2 rolls out. So it's quite exciting, quite a big deal. And yeah, we were there for just over a week, training, honing strategies, talking too much to try to get ready. Since our first game is against Navi, who you guys probably know as, again, a very, very large,
heard of them.
robust, very robust organization, and one of the best in the world, if not arguably the best in the world. So it will also be tough, but the best of one. So just like in Trackmania, anything can happen.
Well, to start off with,
Yeah.
how did you get into esports as a whole? Because I'm sure a lot of people would be interested. It's not exactly a market that's, I assume, easily accessible to get into.
Actually, I say it's super accessible,
Really?
which
Okay.
I think is one of perhaps the one of the problems. Well, not necessarily a problem. It's good. It's accessible, but I just mean because there's a myriad of different organizations, especially in the UK, ranging from those with 100 followers to 1,000 to maybe mid-tier organizations like us, like Endpoint, like M&M, for example, who are bigger than us, but we're close to. And then obviously you have the giants where the accessibility becomes less and less. Like Guild and Fnatic and Excel and all these. To be like that, then yes, you need millions of pounds. David Beckham backing you for some reason, or a bunch of experienced execs who can get you sponsorships with Subway or something like that. But even then, you've probably seen that a lot of these sports orgs are just kind of setting fire to their money to try to gain market share in an industry that is growing but still in a very infantile state. But that said, at a very grassroots level, I think literally anyone can do it and does. All you really need is a Twitter page, a general ideation about what you want to do, an interest in esports, and some friends. And you can get the ball rolling there. Not that you'll probably be very successful, but you can have an org and get a logo on Fiverr, and it doesn't really cost that much.
Is
Yeah,
that
so it's
how
still
Into the Breach started?
yeah, literally that. So I was working full time. Prior to this, I was working in life sciences. So I had a very generic wagey job, working at a consultancy, which, as mentioned, specialized in life sciences, which is big pharma basically. So I worked with a lot of large pharmaceutical companies who developed rare disease medications, and I worked out the strategy for them to gain entry to certain markets. And then COVID struck, and suddenly I was working from home. I had a lot more time on my hands. I was still spending time on Twitch, just watching people play games and do whatever. And I always try to, even like the. Can I swear on this podcast? Sorry.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can
Yeah.
swear.
definitely.
So even like the shittest aspects of what I do with my day. So sat in bed watching Twitch for like an hour or two or something, or way more as the case may be. Just kind of being brain dead. I want to at some point make that productive. So I was like, how can I turn this hobby, which is inherently not very useful, into something useful? And the idea was, okay, well, I like Dota. I watched Dota a lot. I was pretty good at it. I was like top %, but never good enough to be a pro. I had one or two connections in the scene. I was like, okay, so I'm a professional. I can bring management and organization and some calendar stuff and just general services to a UK-based team. Help them get more professional under the guise of just kind of a very low-key bedroom org. Which is what it started off as. So I did that, and it just kind of grew and grew and grew. We got like one of our first sponsors kind of off the cuff, which was G2A, and they started giving us like £1,000 a month, which I spread as much as I possibly could. And the more the more I got invested into it, the more money of my own as well that I put into it. So then I sponsored a CS:GO roster on my own dime. And yeah, it's just grown since then. I think I've been quite fortunate, but we have quite a good model, I think, which means again we're not burning money, and we're doing things consistently and with a either cost neutral or just slightly profitable margin, which for esports is pretty good. Yeah.
So you've got teams in CS, Dota, sim racing, and also obviously Trackmania, which is pretty much the reason why you're here on the podcast talking to us. But tell us a little bit about that. What was attractive about Trackmania to you? What made you initially sign Mime in the first place, and then Elcon afterwards?
Sure. So I was first introduced to Trackmania actually just via YouTube suggestions. I can't remember
Okay,
who, but there were several videos
was it
online.
Virtual? Maybe
Um,
he's
but
like
no, it was like
YouTube
one of
guy for
I,
Trackmania.
I really don't. I can't remember it all. But it wasn't any like commentary orientated stuff. It was just someone driving on a track in Trackmania with like lo-fi music behind it, and I
Oh,
just found
cool.
it
Yeah.
super relaxing. I had no idea what the game was. I just thought it was some, I don't know, just a thing. Like I didn't even know it was like a whole game per se.
Yeah.
Anyway, I kind of got hooked on that. So I watched a few of those, and then Forever, who you probably know, of course, he's in
Yep.
your
Heard of
Discord
him.
as well. Yeah, he reached out via email, I think, email or Twitter, and was like, "Hey, I think he just left an org." I was like, I've got a really good player for you. Trackmania is this game. Here's the link. Go watch like Spammy J's introduction to the game. There's going to be an improved ecosystem coming up. XYZ kind of outlined it all and sold it to me. Basically, it just said, "Look, give us a bit of a money and salary and support, and we'll do good. We'll do good for you." So that's what I did. Basically, I just I believed him. I gave him relative free reign, some budget to see what he can do with it, and it's become a really good thing for us and a really good game, and something we're like super excited about. A game I personally now really like. A game which is incredibly sponsor friendly. It's incredibly audience engaging. It's incredibly good for socials. Has a really good community. It's just a great ecosystem and game, and a lot better in my opinion. A lot of other games as well, which are more reliant on other things, which are either not as secure or not as moral, perhaps. So yeah, that's kind of how. Basically, it's all up to Forever. So thank you, Forever, for that. He's like really is the brains behind everything, and I just kind of let him continually grow the thing with the support, of course, with the rest of the organization and everything else that we can do and develop, bringing in sponsors and such. Yeah.
Yeah, he's quite young, I believe, Forever. And when listening to him on the Dropped Gears podcast, he just seemed so much older when he talked about the game. It's quite crazy, really.
Yeah, I mean, when I first found out his age, I was shocked. He's incredibly mature for his age.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he can attest this as well. There's points in conversations in time where his age does show, but that's only natural. But generally speaking, he's super turned on, really smart individual. But yeah, much older, kind of mentally in a very good way. For his age, I think he's only 17. So don't quote me on that. Maybe he turned 18 lately, but yeah, a young guy with high aspirations in esports, and I'm sure he'll go far, for sure, whether with us or without, as the case may be, if we can keep up.
So obviously you've got
Y-
your esports team into the breach and some good results as well. You were announced as one of the 8 teams for the Trackmania World Tour in October.
Yeah.
Was that you? Did you communicate to Nadeo first that you wanted to be one of the organizations, or was it the other way around? Did they approach you and say, "Hey, we think that you could be really good. You could be a great fit in the Grand League. You've got great players." How did that kind of work out?
Yeah, I mean, I think we got quite lucky first off with mine, because we signed him, and then all of a sudden he was like the second best player in the world,
Yeah.
with the World Cup and stuff. And then we got Elcon
Mhm.
again on Forever's recommendations because he's constantly scouting talent to see who we can sign and develop. Honestly, we'd sign quite a few more players if we were able to, but I'm pretty sure we're limited. Or if we do sign them, then they can't compete in Challenger League, for example, which means that
Yeah,
opportunities
they'd
are
have to qualify.
stunted. Yeah. Well, no, like literally, we're not allowed to have 2 teams,
Oh,
so
right.
we can't have one in the Grand League and one in Challenger. Um,
Oh, I see.
it's otherwise we happily would. Like I'd happily nurture talent in that league, but it's understandable because it becomes a bit more problematic if, for example, they then qualify to TMGL, and then we've got 2 teams in TMGL and we're taking up a
Sure.
spot, especially when these spots are now franchised. So yeah, to answer your question, we approached Nadio, which again was the game plan from the beginning. When Forever came in, for example, he said this system is going to come in, it's going to change, it's going to be a good ecosystem. You should get involved now, which is so from day one the plan was to get into that. And our plans would have been a bit kaput if we hadn't got invited. Thankfully, we did, on the back of Mine's performance for sure, and on the back of an application which included us wanting to do what we've done in other esports communities like CSGO and Dota, support grassroots communities like yourself, and be kind of the flag waver for the UK and Ireland, and kind of support that ecosystem and infrastructure as much as possible. Since I mean, no disrespect to M&M, it's their choice. Even though they were a UK org, obviously they had PAC, but I'm and please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure what they did on kind of a community level in terms of engagement. But I think that was one thing that Nadio wanted from a lot of orgs. Big, for example, repping Germany, the million and one French orgs repping France, and having kind of different areas in the UK, across Europe and the US with G1, nurturing different communities and enabling that growth. So that's that formed part of our application, and of course we had to bring in a streamer as well, a caster who was Magi. So we like fully wanted to integrate ourselves into the community as a whole. Again, contribute to the ecosystem, but also have top tier players, support their talent, bringing in cool sponsors, and do what we can to bring more life to the scene, which is doesn't need as much help anymore, since it's growing and growing and growing and growing from strength to strength. And your community, I think, is testament to that also.
Yeah, I think it's very evident that you're putting a lot of effort into, promoting yourself as an org and into this, especially the Trackmania scene, compared to others. I mean, I imagine most people would say ITB and Big are probably the fan favorites within the league.
It's nice to hope so. That would be nice.
But you mentioned earlier about academies. Is that something you'd like to see implemented from the data? Would you like to sign more players and invest into those?
Yeah, I mean, we had tentative plans to do that. I think we had one with a potential Polish academy, and then I was pushing for a UK one as well. And one of the things like we wanted to do with you guys perhaps as well is that, but I'm just not sure how it works with kind of the TMGL operations, and it's not something we'd want to rush into as well. We want to make sure the infrastructure, even find like a dedicated sponsor who wants to specifically engage and can provide gear and a variety of other things. Generally, what we try to do whenever we're in a game is try and make it as multifaceted as possible. Not just sign a roster and then hope the fans come to us. We have to, same as a football club, same as anything else. You have to nurture a fan base and give back and be a organization that's kind of deserves support, or hopefully deserves support, which is what we try to do in each of the games that we're in and represent fully in a fully way, not just have like a couple of guys playing for us occasionally and that's it. But yeah, academy is I'd happily look into that. It's just a kind of time, how, and what the best way of doing it would be.
You touched upon the Trackmania Grand League, Trackmania World Tour operations. Is there anything from an org's point of view that you would want to see from Nadeo going forwards in terms of I don't know, format changes or just kind of the general way that they operate? Or is everything is everything okay with you now? Like you wouldn't really know what to change. You're just fine with things as they are.
So firstly, I think just compared to other games, because we're involved in Valve and we were with Riot as well. With Valorant.
Yeah.
And I've looked into TFT. So Valve is generally what I characterize as like not the abusive parent, but it's the parent that lets when you're a little kid, lets you watch Family Guy and drink all the chocolate milk that you want, and go to bed whenever. There's no real rules, which has its benefits, because there's no limitations on sponsors, and general engagement with funding, which is a good thing in its own way, because it's not restrictive and it permits the funding that enables. At the same time, they're not as much as they contribute to the ecosystem, it's like pulling teeth a bit. They're very hard to communicate with, notoriously difficult, and I think if anyone from Valve was watching that, they probably know that's just how they're governed. It's a very small unit. I think actually one fact I learned recently is they're the most profitable company on the planet, I think, per employee, because they only have around 350 full-time employees, for example, but they're like a $14 billion company. So they have a very specific way of working, and yeah, that means you get all the chocolate milk that you want, but it also means that sometimes people aren't protected, or orgs aren't protected, or there's not enough infrastructure or rulings, or things seem very arbitrary. Then on the other hand, Riot is like the obstinate religious parent that doesn't really let you do anything. It's a bit too strict, in my opinion. So Trackmania, I think, and Nadio specifically, have found a really good balance, I think, of like a good infrastructure where they have very clear set rulings. Their rulings make sense, and they're understood, and they don't feel arbitrary. They feel legitimate. There's always a means of communication, and they've developed and thought about the way they've kind of structured everything really well, I think. So it's been a breath of fresh air. Excuse me, Sophie. It's been a breath of fresh
He
air
says that he
working.
can't breathe.
Yes, yeah, that's true. No hidden message. Working with Nadia and Softy and the rest of the team, I think they've got a good system. There's probably a few things to change. I'm probably not the best person to comment on that. I think one thing people were pushing for example, was more games through the week. So there's less breaks. Something like we have one game on Wednesday, or one match on Wednesday and then Sunday, but just adding total games. So not making the season shorter, but just adding the amount of games.
Yeah.
I think that's something they want, and the community would probably like as well. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Overall, I have very little complaints. Like I mentioned, I think the players and stuff have some feedback, and our admin team Forever, for
Yeah.
example, has fed some things back. But from like a bird's eye organizational perspective, it's Nadia is great to work with, in my opinion. Yeah.
That's good. I think a lot of people would jump to the conclusion within the day that they're maybe not so good to work with. They do get a lot of bad rep sometimes from the players, and maybe sometimes deserved, maybe sometimes not. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I think we kind of came in when, about the time that they were taking steps to address probably a lot of systematic issues that were problems throughout Trackmania for many years, and then I came in, so I've kind of experienced the better end of it, I would say. But yeah, I mean, I've spoken with other players throughout the years, and I know it's not been as good. But it seems like they're taking steps in the right direction now, at least. And for example, when the season was finalized, one of the first things they did was reach out and ask for feedback. So I do think they're really trying, which is obviously a good thing, and it's the first step to any improvement. Anyway, the willingness to improve. So yeah.
Yeah, from my point of view, just kind of as a spectator and someone that is sort of involved with esports, not quite professionally, but I do casting, whatever. Um, I picked up the game in summer of 2021, so I've seen like a couple of formats, especially, and like they've tried like multi-lap formats. They had some like weird multiplier thing, which I don't know. It just didn't sit right with a lot of people, but for me at least, the way that the esport is now is kind of the best that it's been in terms of format, and also the best in terms of spectators and organizations and players as well. Like I think
Mm.
the two-player format is great. The like regular season format is great, and there's also room for expansion. Like I come from a Rocket League background where the way that that used to be was you had like I think it was 8 to 10 teams and they would play 2 matches a week, for example. So if you
Yeah.
even expand to something like that, then you're starting to grow the esport more, and it's better for spectators, players, orgs, etc.
Yeah, I imagine that's the road they're going to go down. I'm sure they're going to add teams. I don't know what I'm allowed to say publicly, but invariably they will add teams to both spots, I think. So yeah, they have. I can say they have plans for growth, and they're thinking very far ahead. Not just months, but years ahead of time, which is again good. For the game generally, because from a publisher's perspective, if they're thinking years ahead, then they're thinking, that they're going to support this game consistently over time, and they have belief in the game as well, which is again something that you guys probably criticized Nualaoch for prior. That it seemed like they didn't really care about the game, and is something you can probably criticize other publishers for, like Dota. Valve gets a lot of this criticism about Dota, for example, that they just view it as a cash cow and whatever else. But I think Nualaoch, and at least the interactions that I've had, legitimately want to grow this into a substantial esport that rivals Rocket League, even the big ones, which I think it has potential to, especially with the rollout to the consoles and how accessible it is as a game. It's just fun. Like, it's just really fun. Even though I suck at it, I still enjoy playing it. And I'm very much looking forward to getting it on console as well, because for a casual gamer like myself, I'm also someone who's fucked my wrist from having years of terrible posture, hunched over, grinding, matchmaking in Dota. Console is kind of the only option for me. So yeah, that'd be nice. And yeah, I shall be doing that on one of our glorious Thrustmaster controllers, who are coming in as sponsor through April. And yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I think I started around the same time as you, Orion, and noticing
that's
the.
depressing.
No,
When did you guys
there'll
start
be
playing?
time for you to. Summer 20. I think I've talked to a lot of people within the scene, and a lot of people started around summer 2021, including myself and
Yep.
me,
Okay,
you,
right.
Orion, Babz as well. I'm pretty sure, and I'm sure a few others in chat will probably say the same.
Hmm.
But the thing that came across to me with Nadeo was that they were trying, at least back then, were trying very hard to be unique and creative and standing out without actually considering the actual considering fair play and like how the players to me like it's way more important for the players than it is for the audience, because fair play is a huge part of it for me anyway. And now to hear, as you said, that they're taking a lot of influence from the players and from the orgs themselves, and well, seeing where it is now and the format, I imagine most people enjoy. It's definitely taken a step forward, that's for sure. But yeah, next I would like to touch on how your involvement with BIPC and BITM as a whole started. Obviously, Babz isn't here to talk about it. I know he had a big involvement and probably talked to you a lot starting it. But yeah, how did that come about?
I mean, first off, I asked Forever or one of our admin team, maybe even Googled, just British Irish Trackmania community, because I hadn't really like I said, I want ITB to be that kind of flag wavers. I know we haven't got a UK player. Trust me, we tried to get Pack, but he's a big boy and he wants a big org. So um,
Yeah.
maybe in the future at some point. But we still want to wave the flag for the for the Isles and Ireland as well. So I Googled. I tried to find any form of community. I think I came across your Twitter first, and then just dropped into your Discord. And I think I literally just posted in general. I was just like, "Hi, hi, I'm from ITB. It'd be great to have a chat about how we can support each other and how we can get involved with your community." And yeah, that's. I wish there was a more professional way of doing it. That's literally what I do, and it's how I did it in CS:GO as well. I just googled like CS:GO UK community, and then I just come across things. I have chats with people. If we're aligned, if they want to help or vice versa, then we can make something work. And that's just what happened. I think I posted in general, and then had an initial chat with a couple of your guys' founders, and the rest, as they say, is history. And hopefully, it's the start of a kind of a long term growing relationship where ITB grows and this community grows, and we're able to support each other and keep growing in that way.
Yeah. I think it's good. Like you mentioned, it's probably not the right way to approach it, but I feel like you actually putting the effort in and going to them and asking is obviously you're more likely to get a result than waiting for someone to come to you and ask you for something, right? So you're obviously searching for it, and it's really good to see. And I mean, seeing the announcement post of BIPC too, and obviously the financial backing that you're providing as well is absolutely insane. It's really took BIPC to the complete next level, and a load of people are really excited for that.
Yeah, it's a great prize pool. Looks like a great structure as well. I mean, when Trackmania, the prize pools are not very large. So even if you pass that 1K mark, all of a sudden you become, arguably a tier 2 tournament.
Yeah.
Since the TMGL is like, I don't know, it's 20 grand. So yeah, it's good. But I mean, there's these prize pools matter as well, I think, because it's easy to spread them across players. Because obviously it's not orgs or like a group of 5 getting them. It's individuals, so it can go longer. I mean, just look at Elcon with Maggi when he won Maggi's tournament with that supporting, and then like that and this, I think, shows that community and crowdfunding can really work in Trackmania, and can really provide a good solid and consistent ecosystem for tier 2, 3, and beyond. So yeah, hopefully that's what we can keep contributing to with you guys and through you guys.
Yeah, because we did we had our first BIPC last year, and that kind of came about as just oh, maybe we should have like a competitive tournament for British players. That would be a fun thing to do. And we got casters for it. I think everyone did it voluntarily, but yeah, we got casters for it. We had the top players pack played in it as well, which was great to see. Obviously, won the whole thing, but yeah, we had some really top players, and I think it just kind of showed to everyone at that point the depth of the talent for British and Irish Trackmania as well, and that we had not just a great community, but actually a really talented group of individuals as well. And I think since that, it's just kind of grown exponentially. Like BIPL proved that as well. Like we had some fantastic matches on stream there, and once again showing insane talent. Players like Babz, Epos, Whizzy, Acros, all pushing the bubble of the game as well. I think Epos and Acros were they qualified for day 2 of Trackmania World Tour Regionals. So yeah, we've got some great talent here as well, and I think you investing in our community is also a reflection of that, as well as just wanting to kind of fly the flag for British esports.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good point. Like in one of these, the more tournaments there are as well that British and Irish players can play, and the more we can see, and the more they are able to showcase their skill.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
and this is something we keep an eye on, as mentioned. It's something I mentioned to the admin team to keep tabs on. I've literally asked for a list of top British Irish players, people that we can keep eyes on and develop and support if the opportunity arises. So the more tournaments they can play in, the more they're able to showcase, and the more they can show off their skill and hopefully get picked up by, if not us, then anyone else, because it's always good. They don't have to obviously just play for us. I want them to be spread just as they are in every other esport. With British players across international teams. That's when it becomes a really healthy, I think, foundation for the players, where they're across the body, across orgs and showcasing skill.
Yeah, it is good to see BITM being starting so many of these tournaments, as Orion said, voluntarily. I'm sure we will see more in the future. I mean, yeah, we just had BIPL, now we got BIPC2. I'm sure there'll be more. But I want to ask, what is next for ITB? Not necessarily just in Trackmania, but is there anything that's upcoming for you that you're quite excited about?
So we've got a lot of things happening in sim racing, which is really cool. So we're partnering with a very significant partner there, and we're going to be competing across all the major tournaments in sim racing specifically. Hopefully, also we'll be bringing in another big partner around summertime to do a variety of different fan meets, and make sure that we're actually bringing our players to tournaments and LANs so that they can meet everyone and engage, and they're not just kind of they're an actual person that you can come and say hello to and talk with and do whatever. So we're going to focus on that throughout. We're not expanding into any other titles this year, especially as the kind of esports generally is very tight, as I'm sure you see. Different orgs are falling left, right, and center because the amount of money and sponsorship and VC is not as much as it used to be. So we're taking it slow and tentative, and we're just going to develop the players that we've got throughout this year in the games that we've got, develop the fan base and communities that we're already engaging with as well, and hopefully doing a lot more in-person stuff. But yeah, slow and steady is the name of the game, really, as it is and probably will be for most other orgs as well, up until another boom, which I'm sure will be probably around 2024 or 5, when people start getting frivolous again, throwing money into the fire for some reason.
A bit of a side question, but I'm just curious what your point of view is, as you're, quite a big member in esports. Are you in favor more of like esport like facilities where it's treated more like work and people come to the facility and play together that way, or are you more in favor of like the old gamer house style that I think of, like League of Legends, like TSM type thing back in the day when they used to do that kind of thing where you live together as a player? I'm just curious, like from your perspective, what do you see as the right direction in terms of that, treating it like work or more as friends together playing games?
Yeah, it's a good question actually. It's difficult because a lot of if you look at a team like OG, for example, or a lot of these organizations that have really bloomed through being successful in specific games, they bloomed because they were originally like a group of friends that were all cohesive because they were super good at the game, but they also got on really well. And that in itself is something really easy to support for, instead of something like, I don't know, like a monolithic organization that has a big building, people tip up for work, and when it feels a bit more like a normal job, it's not really a dream. It doesn't really sell anything. I'm not talking about merch or anything. It just doesn't evoke any kind of emotion. So I think some sort of middle ground invariably will happen. Probably more towards the corporate end, where you have come to work and you sit down and you come to the office, and that will happen for the business development team or the admin, whatever else. But ultimately, you'll probably have to take it case by case with different players, especially since a lot of players are very different, and it is so hard to get 5 random people, 6 actually if you include a coach, with a traditional game. And with Trackmania, it'll be 2, so perhaps it's easier. My Manel can't get it very well, but even then, two random people who are at the very top of their game and getting them to match in terms of personality is once you've got that, it's like having like the missing puzzle piece, and you want to hold on to it for as much as possible. But more often than not, people don't like each other. They disagree. They're not really engaging for some reason. They're just, and that can mess up the whole ecosystem and anything else. And then if that is the case, you're probably better having them just come to the office and turn up for work and just treat it as a job, and be efficient and dedicated. So yeah, it's only on a case by case basis. For us, it has to be tip up to go to a boot camp or something, just because we haven't got the money to have a static venue, like we're working from home. It's just too much money for us. But yeah, if you look at Excel and Fnatic, I think they've done a pretty good job of finding some blend of that Tundra as well. Actually, especially, I think they do a good job of kind of fermenting relationships, and that worked out really well for the Dota team. In Trackmania, I'm not sure how that necessarily works. I think so. Alcom, for example, if I made him come to the office, or if I made him go to a team house, I think he would really dislike it because he's not that kind of person. Mime, I don't think gives a shit. He'll play wherever. He's probably just he's probably just happy playing at home, by himself. But if I wanted some boot camp, he'd probably be up for it. And then I'm not sure about the other teams or rosters. You can probably get the Alliance guys in a room together and they'll be fine. But who knows? Maybe Pack and Bren or whoever else. Maybe if they were in a team for some reason, maybe they'd hate each other. I don't know. Like, you just never really know until you get them together. Talking
Yeah.
and playing together, and then you can kind of decide them, and they can decide as well. They can tell you what's best. Yeah. Sorry, that was a very long-winded answer to say both. But yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your insight. It's been very interesting to hear things from an organization's point of view. And also, I guess, just kind of a big thank you from us for, as you say, flying the flag and investing in grassroots esports. I've been a part of that in Rocket League myself and watched things grow. Uh, I started casting for just a very small uni league, which has now through investment grown into a European university wide league that is now sponsored by the game developers and is partnered with North American universities as well. So just the kind of spark that ignites the flame sometimes can be the most important thing. So thank you for being that person and being that organization and doing that in this community.
Oh, our pleasure. Thank you for working with us. It's very kind of a two-way street. The feeling is very mutual. So yeah, thank you also, and thanks for having me today. Happy to come back and have a chat as well, perhaps later in the year when if things have shifted and see how we're doing, etc. Maybe we can get that academy team.
Yeah, it'd be
Great.
nice to get you
Sounds
back
good.
on following the next season of Team GL or Team WT and talk about that. It'd be really
Yeah,
nice.
happy to. Yeah, brilliant. My pleasure. Yeah. So shall I just hang up now? Or yeah.
Yeah, if that's how you want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, thank you for coming on and best of luck with the upcoming stage 2.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, and yeah, looking forward to the upcoming tourney. Cheers and have a good
Great.
one.
You too.
Okay. Okay, well, that was Slay, aka Sam, CEO of Into the Breach. And yeah, that was interesting to get that insight, especially, you know, me and you kind of have the opinion that Nadeo, while they're doing things right, could still be doing things better. There's always criticism coming from people that aren't in that line of direct communication. So it was really good to hear from him that Nadeo are communicating. They do have plans to grow the esport and turn it into something bigger. I don't know. Did you kind of get that vibe as well?
Yeah, I think as you said, like for both of us, I think I was more leaning towards the not the Deo hate side, but wanting to see better things from them. And I mean, it all comes
Yeah,
down to we don't get to see the behind the scenes that Slay does or the players do. And yeah, it's just good to hear that there's actually. I mean, the point that I really liked from that was that they are really looking to grow and push it for, even more forward than what they're already doing. I
yeah,
mean, Team WT was obviously a huge step, and the fact that they're not stopping there is really really good to hear.
yeah. I don't think that we're coming from a perspective of being overly critical. I think it's the thing where me, you, and probably everyone watching in chat at the moment knows the potential that Trackmania has, and you wouldn't want to see it go to waste. Like everybody knows that this esport has so much potential and it could grow to like Slay was saying, like a kind of Rocket League like level.
Yeah,
It probably won't be tier 1, but like tier 2 is definitely within the realm of possibility. Having lands, international events, etc. It's doable, but it
yeah,
sounds like Nadeo are putting the right steps in um to do exactly that.
yeah. We'll have
But
to
I
wait
think
for
we'll
the
move on
console
from
release. Oh yeah, I was
yeah,
just say the
that's
console
a big
release will
step.
probably be a huge, or what I'm hoping will be a huge boom in you know new players, and that will spark a lot more out of the game. But yeah,
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think we will be moving on from that segment now, but we will be continuing to talk about British and Irish Trackmania, but with a different guest who is a big part of the community himself. most of you probably know him, as he's currently setting incredible times on the tracks in BIPC. So I think it's about time that we welcomed in Whizzy. Hello. Can you hear us, and can we hear you?
Meow meow. You can indeed hear me. You can indeed hear me. How's it going?
Oh my god! I can't believe you actually started off with the meow. That is.
Well, I thought it would be
Okay.
fitting for the podcast. So, how's it going? How's it
Oh my
going?
god! Really good, really good. Man. I'm so pleased. We've got the Whizzy face reveal on the
Yeah,
Cup of the Day podcast. The chat's going wild. Whizzy is actually here. Oh
yeah.
god!
I am an actual human, and unfortunately, I'm not like Pac.
Not
So,
just a pair of hands.
Yeah, a pair of hands
indeed,
or a guy in a helmet.
yeah. I am. I am an actual human. So that's yeah. Pac will remain the only alien, I guess. But no, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's good, man. I suppose we start off with well, tell us a bit of your background, really. Not necessarily in the start of Trackmania, but introduce yourself, as Mark would say.
Yeah, so yeah, as you guys said, my nickname's Whizzy. So um, I play kind of Trackmania on a competitive level, but also um, on I play Cup of the Day as regularly as I can do. But yeah, it's been a pleasure being a part of this community, and yeah, it's I've probably been around for a couple of years now. So um, but that's kind of the very, very brief level of who I am, I guess you could say.
Are you a Trackmania boomer? Did you play pre-TM 2020, or did you pick up the game when the new game came out?
So I originally started. I probably can't quote a year because that would probably be incorrect. But I know I was in primary school when I kind of first started.
Oh my
Well,
god, you said a
will I
few years,
say?
man.
Well, I started probably let's say 2010. I would say
Wow.
2012 on Trackmania United Forever. That was kind of my first game. Um, but I was not very good at all. But I basically just kind of sat on the Zorski full speed servers and yeah, had a bit of fun on them, especially on the Sumo 900 maps. They were always great fun for me. But uh, then took a bit of a break, kind of forgot about it for quite a while. So didn't even play Trackmania 2 Stadium or anything. And then I think it was pretty much as yeah, summer of 2020. And the Nadio announced a new game coming out for called Trackmania 2020, and I thought a bit of a throwback. We'll have a go, and yeah, that it kind of started from there. So I still remember kind of downloading the new game on day one, and hopping on the campaign, and my god, the tracks were different back then. But it was great fun. It was yeah. So that's so I've been playing for probably 2.5 yeah, two no, I can't do maths, but probably about two and a bit years, we'll say. 2 and a bit years.
Well, 2 and a bit years. That's I guess there's no hope for us, Orion, of ever getting good at the
Yep.
game in years, something like that.
Officially in the mud.
That's crazy. Yeah. Oh my God. When would you say is the point where you actually, felt that you were good at the game? Do you know what I mean? Was there like a point that you kind of sparked and became, the player that you are today?
Yeah, I think there were kind of two major points. So I think the first one was getting my first Division 1 in Cup of the Day. I think that was that was quite a main staple for me. Because I could never quite get there. I was, I obviously started out quite pretty slow, but kind of, bit by bit, kind of improved. And yeah, getting that first Division 1 was yeah, was huge for me. And then also in terms of that kind of confidence and realizing actually I'm not half bad, if you know what I mean. But and then I think the second one was probably um, the Open Grand League in spring 22, I think. No. I think spring 22, the Open Grand League, kind of managing to qualify myself for the not the playoffs, but the final 16, which would determine who would go into Challenger the subsequent year. So I think managing to get a spot in that was also a kind of a turning table.
But
Cool.
in terms of your obviously we've only had 2 British tournaments so far. Did you play in the first edition of BIPC? I
I did
don't
indeed,
recall.
yeah.
Where did you finish in that?
So if I recall correctly, I think I got third. I think yeah, because
Behind Pack
it
and
was
was it Saber?
yeah, Pack and
Yeah.
Saber absolutely dominated, and then I yeah, I'm pretty sure I managed to get third somehow.
Somehow, no, I think it was very well deserved. I have to say, it was a good performance. But I think speaking of BIPC, I think we wanted to kind of move on to a segment where we kind of talk about
Mm.
upcoming BITM players
hmm
within the British and Irish scene. Yeah, there should be a graphic appearing soon, and we'll be able to talk about these players. Basically, the graphic will show uh, the Cup of the Day players ordered by division, or their placements within the division. So you can kind of see, you know, who is good in, I guess, in Fastlane, but it kind of shows a basis of the skill level within the BITM community.
hmm Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are some seriously good players coming up. I mean, even even day by day, seeing more and more, British players and Irish players in Division One or Division Two, or just those upper leagues. It's amazing to see. I was watching one of Virtual's streams where he was commenting on just how many British players there was on one of the Cup of the Days, but it's coming more and more regular, which is I think it's amazing to see, really.
Yeah, it does feel like we see like an average of 5 to 10 British players per Cup of the Day, and it's not even style specific either. I feel like no matter what the style is, we'll see that amount of players. And as you said, you just wouldn't have seen that a year ago. I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at this graphic. You've obviously been Division One fairly regularly the whole year. What players would you normally see within Division One? Let's say 9 months ago.
As in British players, or just
Yeah,
in
yeah,
general.
in British players.
I mean, well, you're putting me on the spot there, but as in my memory is not very good. But yeah, in honestly, not many. I mean, even myself, I wouldn't quite be up there. I'd be, Division 3, Division 2, that kind of thing. But yeah, it would be, sometimes Acro, sometimes Bosbez, sometimes, the odd one would kind of sneak out, maybe Naruko. I remember playing a few Division 1s with him, but, it's, yeah, not many compared to now. It's really a whole different level that these guys have kind of stepped into.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we wanted to highlight with this spreadsheet was the overall improvement of British and Irish players, and you can pick up on a few examples. I think, yeah, Socks is a really good example. I don't know if he's appearing on screen; it might be too low. But in from December 2021, March 2022, his average div was 17, and he has now improved that to an average division of 4. Also improved his average finishing position of 1070th to 216th.
Mm,
Um, but the other thing is, if you look at the stats as a whole, you can maybe count, I don't know, 10 players that Div 4 or above in that first column, and now it is 41 that are
yeah.
averaging Div 4 or above for the UK, which is pretty insane. That is serious improvement from the community as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I think it's great to see. It's every single couple. It also feels like a kind of an allegiance, I guess you could say. You know, how many can we represent in those upper divisions? You know, to try and take over the kind of Titan countries of Germany, France.
Yeah.
You know, how many can Britain get their most represented country
I
or
do wonder
region?
if Britain is number. I don't know. There's obviously a stat that can be got on this, but if Britain's number 3 in like most popular nation in Division 1, I do wonder if that'd be Britain or not.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
you
sure
have
Kent should be able to find a stat.
France, Germany. I'm trying to think if there'd be possible Italy. I don't know.
Oh,
Hard
Pads
to
has said
say.
Poland. I think that's a good shout.
Poland
Poland,
and
yeah,
Norway a little bit, yeah.
yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah.
true.
Yeah. But yeah, I forgot to mention at the beginning. Big thank you to Kinch for getting these stats. So that's my bad
Oh
on
yeah,
that. I should have mentioned it. But this is absolutely brilliant. I asked him a few days ago, and he got back to me instantly, and well, yeah, supplied me the spreadsheet. So big thanks to Kinch for that. But Whizzy, I just wanted to ask you, who would you say, if you can name, let's say, 3 players on this list as like the ones to watch, as in like
Yeah.
who could you see from this list in a year's time being, let's say, a Regi Div 1 or a top 8 BITM player?
Tough to say because I think there are so many.
Yeah.
There are so many. But if I could just pull 3 names just out of my head right now, I think Cal has really
Yeah.
put in a lot of effort and stepped up. Of course, with good focus, and I think ever since he's joined them, I think his pace, his consistency is really boosted. So it's been great to see him in Division Ones on, as you say, numerous styles. So it's not necessarily on only ice or only tech. It's anything, which is
Yeah.
a true kind of indicator of people's skill. Um, I'd say also Vic. I very commonly see him in Division One now, which is really good to see. Um, and Rue as well. I see him very regularly as well. But as I say, there's so many. A load of people. You know, have that potential, and it's as you said with Slay, the amount of talent that the British and Irish community has to offer is extremely vast, and even more so now that people are getting better and better at Cup of the Day, the most prestigious tournament on the earth, of course.
Yeah. I think the one, as you mentioned, Rue, he's obviously a absolutely insane player, and it's a shame we don't get to see him in more rounds-based competitions. I think everyone can agree with me when I say the 2 players that we don't see in rounds-based competitions from BITM that are really good are Rue and Crisp, or Crispy. I don't know which one it is, but those 2 players are putting absolute insane times on time attack, especially on the BIPC 2 maps. And yeah, they don't play in competitions, which is really annoying. Because I'd love to see how they play versus the likes of obviously you, Whizzy, and Babz and Acros.
Yeah, exactly. I think, and also very much the kind of what style or how your kind of play style. So, from what I've seen, that the division ones that these guys play, both Rue and Crispy, and are or can be extremely consistent, which is probably the most valued skill in rounds, I'd say. So yeah, it's I hope to I definitely hope to see them in more either rounds based competitions or competitions full stop, because it's not like they don't have pace. They absolutely do. They have even on these BIPC maps, they're putting insane times in, challenging the top spots. So yeah, they've got a lot of talent and a bright future, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
We've also got some like players that are good at like more specialized styles. Like they're not necessarily the top players in comp, but like Vig, for example, is an insane ice player. I regularly see him in Div 1 in Ice. Not that I play Div 1. I watch the streams. Okay, but if there's an Ice map, he's there. But yeah, he has come on. He's come on incredibly. Because he's also Southwest, same as me, and he just kind of appeared on the Southwest leaderboards one day, and then I think it was when we played our little British inter-region thing. We had him on the Southwest team just for the ice tracks, and he was like top 20, top 30 world, like, and doing those times regularly. So
Yeah.
Vig as an ice player is one to look out for. And also Josh as well, full speed player,
Yeah.
regularly setting world records on
Hadster's
full
worst
speed
nightmare.
track of the days,
Mhm.
and also full speed of the week. Like every time I play a full speed of the week track, it's always Josh world record.
Yeah.
But I don't think he'll feature in BIPC 2. I mean, he does average Div 2, to be fair.
I do see
But
Josh a
full
lot
speed Andy
on.
for sure.
Yeah, I did initially think Josh was a full speed Andy, but I mean, very recently, like this month, I have seen him hit like Div 3 or better in dirt, grass, tech, whatever it may be. But he seems to be picking up other styles fairly quickly, so I could definitely see him being one for the future. But
Yeah,
the
sure.
one player I really want to highlight, and this will segue into our talk of BIPC in a second, but I think the player to really look out for is Roy Boy, and I know he's not necessarily an upcoming player. He's pretty well established, but I feel like he's gone from being a good player to a great player, especially very recently. I mean, everyone saw his win versus Spam in Cup of the Day, which is absolutely insane. His performance at Gamax, again, completely insane. The player has, the guy has completely stepped up his level, and I could see him competing for top 4 easily within BIPC 2. I'm curious if you think the same about that, Whizzy.
Yeah, absolutely. You pretty much summarised my answer completely, which is he's completely stepped up. I think after casting Gamax and watching his performance, I mean, he was playing incredibly well there. I mean, I've said a couple of times that since then I haven't seen a Roy Boy like it. That was a completely different person playing at Gamax. It was a joy to watch. So yeah, absolutely. He's if he puts the time and if he puts that pace in, then yeah, absolutely. He's definitely one to look for.
Yeah. I suppose that leads
Well, I
on
guess
to the
we
next
can.
bit. I was just say
Well, you were
if you
going to
could
say exactly what I was
list
going to say.
the top 8 from his predictions to top 8 BIPC, that was what I was going for.
Yes, we were going to get that.
Yeah, so I think as the final score, do you mean, or kind of just a time attack?
Yes, final.
Final. So yeah, that's one of the questions. Well, no, I'd say I think I mean, yeah. Do you want it in order or just general names?
Yeah. Order.
Oh god.
Or
Make it even
do
more
we want it
difficult
in
for
order?
you.
Do we want it in order?
Uh,
I don't know.
I mean,
Up to you. I'll
if you
leave it
could
up
do
to
it in
you.
order, go for it.
I'll probably reserve judgment on order because then I'm sure I'll get some hate. So, but so I'll probably say I'll just do names. I think so. I'll do.
Yep.
I mean, Akros, his consistency is out of this world. You know, if he's in the mindset on the day, he can also put the times in. So definitely one to look for. Roy Boy, as we just said, very talented. I think that I mean, of course, Bosbez, he'll be up there challenging for the victory, no less. I think Epos as well. He's putting insane amounts of time in. I think, but well, at least I don't know about time, but the amount of effort he's putting in is substantial. So, and it's showing up on the time attacks. He's doing a really good job there. Um, Is that how many is that? 4 or 5 so far?
That's 4.
That's 4. So I'll do. I'll probably say Rue. I have faith in. Is Rue? I think Rue's playing. Is Rue playing?
Yes, he's
He
Rue,
is
playing.
signed
He's
up.
on the time attack
I
leaderboard. Yeah.
think. Yeah, I think he could do a good job. I've seen him. Of course, I've seen him on. Well, I think it's Frame Shift. I think
Frame shift. Yeah.
Frame Shift.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing a fantastic job there. I think also Jaffa Padawan. He's another very very fast Scotsman. Very very consistent as well. Is that how many? Is that 6 or 7?
6. 2 more.
6. And then I want to. I really want to. Babz. I think it's Babz playing.
Yeah, Babz is
Babz
playing.
playing.
Yeah.
Babz is
Yeah.
playing. I think I really want to have that French Babzify interview, but and then I will probably throw myself in there. I'd like to
I
think,
think
but
that's fair enough. Yeah.
I was wondering
It's
if
a
you were
fair
going to go
shot.
through
Yeah,
that
well,
whole list and miss out yourself.
but I think, I mean, in reality, I think anyone who gets in, probably even the top 16, it's anyone's game to get into that top 8.
Yeah.
It's who can get into that mindset and who can perform on the day. But it's going to be a fantastic competition.
Yeah, definitely. I think the important thing to take away with that is how different that top 8 might vary to obviously last BIPC's top 8. And I know a lot, obviously Pack isn't playing and Sabres and then a lot of the boomer players aren't playing. But I do genuinely think that the newer generation of British and Irish Trackmania players that come through could definitely compete with those guys. Oh, maybe not Pack. I mean, Pack is on a whole another level to everyone else. Right? But, I generally think the level has completely stepped up compared to last time. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think absolutely. Even in the span of 1 year, it's been as we just saw in the couple of days spreadsheet, it's that progression has improved dramatically. Sure, they're not competitive maps, but that the skills transfer. The knowledge when to risk, when how far to push the car. During rounds, it's all these skills transfer into real life competitions. So but absolutely, I think I still do remember the first BIPC with is it Chris, Jono, Hotswats, Leo,
Saber. Yeah.
Saber. Sorry, I can't remember who it was. But yeah, and seeing all those guys was fantastic. But yeah, I'll be honest. I think a lot of these upcoming players really have a lot of potential with them. So
Yeah, I mean, I had the pleasure of casting BIPL and to see like the top 4 there, yourself, Acros, Boz, Epos, and also Roy and Div 2 you mentioned,
mm,
just like put in such dominant performances because those maps were hard. Like
yeah.
in my opinion, at least, those maps were a lot harder than the maps that we've got for BIPC2. Like maps like Sharpen, especially, just looked insane to drive. Um, and the consistency that the top players had, and also the pace. Like Boz, Epos, Acros were driving rounds like 0.3 off world record, 0.2 off world record. So to see that was seriously impressive, and like that is, it's on show for all of us to enjoy, but also kind of the wider Trackmania community as a whole can see that and look at that and go, wow, these British and Irish guys have got some serious pace in them.
I mean, one of my favourite emotes, of course, is Carjay with saying with what is it, the UK Trackmania Omega Lol. I
You
mean,
to Trackmania Omega Lol, yeah.
exactly. I mean, not anymore, mate. I'll be honest. We as a community, I think even now we're pushing the top dogs all the way. So yeah, It's as you said, Orion. The the maps on BIPL were incredibly difficult. But nonetheless, these guys putting an insane effort in and driving consistently within 0.2, 0.3 of world records. So incredibly impressive, and um, I don't think that's I think that's that kind of performance could challenge anyone, to be honest.
Yeah,
I
one
suppose.
thing I want to highlight
Go on.
as well. Um, sorry, I've just
No,
been
go for it.
told by our producer Chris that top 16 in BIPC 1 was separated by 3.7 seconds. First to 17th in time attack currently is 1.8 seconds. And I don't think we have a graphic for the time attack leaderboard, but like another stat, 10th to 22nd is currently separated by 1 second, and all around the kind of top 32 cutoff, I think that is only let me see, 4 seconds ish off 3.5 seconds off Epos in first. So
Mm.
it's stacked right now. Like it is very difficult to get into the top 32 if you're like, I mean, obviously Jorday, you're in there, Whizzy, you're second, but like for a player like myself who considers themselves to be good enough at the game to be competitive, I'm currently like, if I drive a decent time on poles, which I haven't done yet, I'm still going to be like 40th. So yeah, it is stacked right now. There are so many good players in the UK competing right now.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think people
it's
are
insane.
training pretty hard, aren't they? I don't know what your
Yeah,
training routine, both of you, I guess, for this, but I imagine a lot of people are putting in the hours, to get these times.
yeah. How much time are you spending on the like time attack, or are you driving mainly solo, or are you practicing rounds, Wizzy?
Yeah, so at the moment, just full solo time attack, full send. But at the moment, I've probably put in probably 3 hours, 4 hours on each track, probably.
Okay, on each. Oh god, I was about to
Yeah,
have a
not in
heart attack
total.
there.
No.
Oh god.
Can you
Yeah,
imagine?
I
Oh
think
my
no,
god,
no.
that's soul crushing. You only put 4 hours in all of this. Oh god.
No, yeah, probably about 3 hours, 4 hours on each map, I'd say. Again, that's just a kind of a guesstimation on what I've done so far. So maybe plus or minus 1 hour, maybe. But it's a rough guide.
Yeah. How are you finding the maps? Like, I guess compared to BIPC 1, do you think this is a step up, or are you pleased with the maps in general?
Yeah, I think they in some aspects the maps are much more technical than on compared to some maps in the first one. Um, we saw some incredible maps in the first BIPC, of course, with two Enisada maps and the Keystone map with Ripple. That was horrific for me. Um,
Nightmares.
but this season we've got probably even more difficult maps. We've got the mine map from Candy Crush. Oh, Candy
Yeah,
Candy
that's it. I think Candy
some
Candy
Crush.
Crush?
Candy
Yeah.
Crush, yeah. Featuring incredibly difficult gears to hold, incredibly difficult lines to execute. We've got the Oze map with frame shift. Featuring again very 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 difficult dirt lines to refine and master. We've got the Kerberos and Asa map, probably the hardest map called Hoga.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Very very
Yeah, the
difficult,
first draft.
and yeah, that's yeah, that's tough. That's going to be very interesting in rounds. I'll say that,
Yeah,
but
rounds play for that is going to be
yeah,
an absolute shit show. But I'm all for it.
exactly, yeah. And then of course we've got Poles by Berserk, also a phenomenal map, but yeah, just difficult to get your head around and discover the lines. But yeah, I think the maps are phenomenal this season.
Yeah,
Are
definitely.
you
I think.
feeling
Yeah.
pretty maxed in time attack already? Do you think you've kind of hit your ceiling, or do you think you can go do you think you can go further? You think you've got more to give?
I think I've got more to give on most tracks. I think I feel like there are some pretty good times out there. So Epos with the 0.3 on Candy Crush is pretty good.
Yeah, that's an insane time.
Yeah, it's a really good time.
But he had a bad drift. So there's still time to gain, and I think I've had the trusty copium timer, but it's looking again. It's copium timer, so they're not, of course, the actual times, but there's more time possible. But whether I prioritize that or prioritize rounds is I'm not sure, to be honest, but we'll see. We'll see.
When it comes to rounds, are you like a hood-off player, focus on your driving thing? Because I know, I believe Babz mentioned that in a previous BIPL interview. I can't remember when he mentioned it, but I'm pretty sure he was a
Yeah.
hood-off type of player. And for me, I started implementing that myself near the end of BIPL, and I have to say it really helps. Like, just get out your own head, right? This not knowing where the other players are, just focus on your own game. This helps with consistency so much. I'm just curious for you, is that a same type of thing? Do you play with hood on? Do you like to know where they are?
Yeah, so at the moment I do play HUD on. I quite like to have that information readily available. So, if there's a kind of a lull period in the map that I can glance over and look at the deltas, but I'm kind of swapping, interchanging between HUD off, HUD on, kind of playing around because, yeah, as you mentioned, it worked phenomenally for Bosbez and Epos in BIPL. So if it's obviously working for them, so I might as well give it a try. But um, at the moment, I'm undecided. But I think we'll see. But for the moment, I'll probably remain hard on. But I guess we'll see.
I do want to ask a question of you, and I mean absolutely no disrespect by this, but after BIPL, you were quite self-critical. You said openly that you hadn't performed up to your own expectations. Um, I guess my first question would be like, why do you think that was? And my second question is, how are you how are you approaching BIPC differently to kind of ensure that you perform to your maximum potential and achieve the results that you want?
Yeah. So kind of addressing the first part is with BIPL is it was not what I had hoped for, uh, of course. But I think I mentioned this to Leo, which was that kind of during or just literally just before the match with Bosbez, Nuriko and I can't remember, but that game, I had the practice felt good. I just world recorded, yes, on one of the maps, so I felt good. But yeah, I literally after the first round, I knew I'd lost the match already. I just wasn't. Couldn't. It was frustrating. Yeah, it was that kind of the practice felt good, but I couldn't perform in that match. So,
Mm,
as for what I'm doing differently this time is I think I'm playing around with, as you say, hard off. Maybe that's something I consider. Um, you know, Potentially that will help the consistency. Um, but also, yeah, just trying to just chill out a bit more. I think the IPL was very much a kind of a it felt very tense. Well, I say tense, but for me, I wanted to win, of course.
yeah,
But I think with BIPC, it's very much kind of a we'll give it a go. But ultimately, whoever wins deserves it the most, which was the case with Boz. He won BRPL. He played insanely well and deserved it. So we'll just trying to be a bit more chilled out this time. So um,
sure.
Whether that will reflect in the match, we'll see. But I think that's what I'm trying to do with my kind of mindset compared to BIPL.
Do you think you're more suited to the BIPC, like straight up to the league system that we had with BIPL was maybe more for you?
It's a tough one because I think with BIPL it was quite difficult because I was quite busy externally with doing other stuff outside of university and work, but and so I didn't have too much time to practice. But so having that additional map each time wasn't too bad because I have the time to practice. But I think the main killer for me with BIPL was that my what I felt like my two best maps was Topi and the Kerberos map. I can't remember the name of that, but I felt like they were my two best maps. And unfortunately, by the time I was playing EBOS and Bosbez, those maps had pretty much gone.
Right.
So, in that essence, it's I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a tough one, but at least with BIPC, there's just four maps. The maps are set, so there isn't that kind of risk. If that not risk, but you know what I mean. The kind of
Yeah.
or is my hopefully my best map is around at the same time. Don't need to worry about that. It's just the four maps set in stone. Play your heart out.
Yeah, it's nice having that safety net of just having the consistent maps that you know from the beginning and can stick around for, and you know what you're expecting, right? Yeah, definitely what I preferred myself as well. I think I don't know if I felt I was caught out by any of the maps from BAPL because all the maps were brilliant, really.
Oh, bye, Jorday. See you later.
Is my internet
He'll
gone?
be
What's
back.
going-
You DC'd from the Video Ninja. If you can
I'm
get
back,
back in,
okay.
then yeah.
Sorry
go
about that.
We'll be
Don't
right
know what
back.
happened there.
Technical
I'm-
difficulties.
I
Yeah.
am back. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Get Cool. It was one of my favorite maps. I think I'm starting to lean more towards the tech-sided maps, and it was fortunate for me that they fell on that. But it's interesting to see how the maps you were talking about were the ones that didn't fall for you in terms of the important matches. But what I'd like to talk about now is how did talk about Exalty and your experience within playing as a substitute for that team and how that came about, really.
Yeah, so I could probably start with I guess how I joined Excelsior if you want, and then kind of lead through into what the first stage was. But yeah, so I think I have all thanks to Volnera who spotted me in OGL and in spring 2021, and yeah, basically just hit me up and said, "Do you fancy it?" And of course I said yes because that was kind of the first team I'd been with. So it was not a too shabby start to be a part of a pretty prestigious org. So it was quite a shock, but so that was kind of how it started off. And with regards to playing as the substitute for Lincoln Macquacho, it was a decision that I think Exalti made, which was, as I said, Link and Miku would play the two drivers, and then I'd be, I guess you could see your kind of third driver. So but it basically meant that I'd be as ready as I could be on the weekend or on the Saturday because Challenger was on the Saturdays. And if they needed me, then I would imagine they would have sent me a DM or something, but I wasn't needed for the season, so I ended up just watching. But yeah, that was kind of the dynamic of it. So
Yeah, I feel like, but like I'm sure there was like some sort of level of frustration that you put. I'm sure you put these hours of training in, right? And it almost not feels like it's for nothing, but you just didn't get to play right. It was just kind of sitting and waiting, hoping, and unfortunately never came about. Uh, how did that impact your training routine as a sub? Did you feel like you still had to put in 100% of the effort?
I think, I mean, I won't lie. I think later on the motivation did reduce. Not gonna lie, but
Yeah,
I kind of had to keep thinking. I'm still part of the team. I still have to represent the team, just as much as Link and Makacho. You know, it's
yeah,
it's it's just as an important role as the drivers, as the coach, as the CEO, I guess you could say. But um, I always said to my parents, who I sometimes talk about it with, that all I need really is well, I say need, but we saw it with I think it was Nick De Vries in F1.
mm,
He was ready. He wasn't needed for most of the year, but it just so happened that he I think it was at Monza. He had to represent. He had to perform on the day, and yeah, managed to get Q2, I think it was, or either way, a fantastic result for the team, and that no less got him, or at least helped to get him a drive with, I think it's AlphaTauri now. So it was
Yeah.
either way, AlphaTauri, I think. But yeah, that's kind of the kind of reminder I had to keep sending it to myself, which is, yeah, you still have to represent the team. It's to remain professional, of course, and yeah, you'll I only need one shot ultimately.
Do you think that you're like where are you at now? Obviously, that you were sub last season. Are you gonna kind of wait to get that one shot, or I don't know how much you can talk about whatever if you're having conversations behind the scenes, but are you thinking of looking elsewhere? Do you think that you should be playing on a team in the Challenger League, or are you thinking of going from the ground up and trying to qualify? Where are you at right now in terms of what you want to do competitively?
Um, yeah, good question. So I think at the moment it's all a bit up in the air because of course, unfortunately, Exalted lost their spots in the Challenger League. So
Yeah,
um,
sure.
it's kind of up in the air. No one really knows what's happening, and but with regards to what I want to do is, yeah, I ever since probably, yeah, last year, I still have shoulder spare moments, rewatching that OGL Spring 2021 top 16 match, because yeah, I of course really would love to drive in Challenger. I think I could, pretty bad joke, but I think I could challenge them. But yeah, I think in terms of competition, yeah, I think I'd love to give it a go. I think especially now that I've got the time, or at least some time. I fear that, as maybe as I grow older, that maybe I go into a different profession, or I don't know. But I'd love to give it a good shot while I've got that chance.
I think a lot of people would. I saw it on Twitter. Would like to see you play with Stuffed, as he's just become a free agent as well, I believe. And I mean, in my opinion, Stuffed is probably the most improved player overall last year. Or yeah, last year, this year. No, in the last year, he's become absolutely insane and become a top level player. And I think with you by his side to help him grow into the scene more, I think it'd be an absolutely insane duo to see. Either that, or having like the double UK duo of you and Babz, you and Epos. One of those type of things.
Yeah, exactly. I think Yeah, it would just be it'd be nice. It would be nice to at least drive. I think I miss it. I said to myself that I was missing that kind of drive. Literally the only thing I was playing was Cup of the Day for 3 months. That was it. So
Yeah.
while I saw or even casting for EU regionals, it was like kind of
You got the itch.
I've got the itch. I've got the itch exactly. So yeah, whoever I play with, I guess. I just hope that you know we that I can find someone to play with who is got similar aspirations or whatever it is. I think it would just be nice to race.
Can we talk briefly about the stage 2 maps? Because when they were first released, the entire Trackmania community just kind of looked on in shock at what they had
Yeah.
been presented with. Have you played them at all?
Yes. Yes. I have. Yeah.
Okay, and how have you been finding them? Are you finding consistency, or are you having that same level of shock of, oh my god, I actually have to drive these maps consistently, competitively against some of the best players in the world?
I think some maps, but I think I don't know, I mean, I feel like this opinion probably spreads across some of the pro players as well, but I can't quote. But in general, I think these maps are at least they feel a little bit more quote unquote competitive than stage one.
Mm.
But it's just a case of kind of digging around the map, trying to identify what's what to do, where are the lines, what are the breaking points if you have any, what are the tricks if anything. Um, but to me, to be honest, I quite enjoy those kind of TMGR maps. I enjoyed. I mean, I was probably the only one really actually playing Flip of Faith for fun. I enjoyed it
Yeah, you had
for some
online world
bizarre
record on
reason.
that, didn't
But
you?
online, yeah, and then Tween had a ridiculous .1 apparently, but we don't talk about that. But no, yeah, I enjoy that. I enjoy those kind of weird maps. Trying to understand them. It's just something different because otherwise it just feels Cup of the Day still. And then
Mm.
TMJ is supposed to represent Trackmania for what it has and what it has to offer. So I quite enjoy having that kind of that extra spice.
Yeah. Obviously, you made one of the maps for the stage, and I'm curious, working with Nadeo alongside that, how was that creating the map in comparison to stage one? Is it a step up? Do you feel like they're more cooperative now? Because I believe stage one, you had the identity chucked at you basically, right? You had the route. You had to build the route to the identity or something like that. Or no, it's the other way around, isn't it?
Yeah. So for stage one, basically, we had to um, build a route, and then the kind of identity would be given to us. At least for me, I don't know about anyone else, but for me, at least, it was given to me after a route was provisionally made, and then it was quite difficult to incorporate into the track. But yeah, with stage two, it was a similar one, but we started much earlier. We started much earlier, so by the time that people were saying, "Oh, have you started have you started stage two, mate? We've already finished them, or at least we finished the provisional routes." So it meant we had a lot more time to to kind of go back and forth with Softy. Is this something that you want? It just allowed more time for feedback, and I think it's really paid off. I'd like to think that it's paid off this season.
Are you allowed to say which map you've mapped for stage 2?
Yes, so I built Breaking Point, which I did not make the name
Mm.
for. I know there's a lot of memes about that, but yeah, we I can just claim that it's a Breaking Bad reference, but it's but yeah, I made Breaking Point, as
Am
well
I
as the
right in
identity
saying that
format.
you Oh, right, okay. Am I right in saying that you mapped Slippy in stage 1?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, thought so.
So how did you? Obviously, I imagine you this started from maybe Waypoint. How did you start with Waypoint? How did that come about?
So I think yeah, that's a good point. Which yeah, I think I kind of I'd already enjoyed building maps even in Trackmania United Forever. I remember building a very scuffed maps on desert island, all these different environments, and then playing offline with myself and racing against myself. It was fantastic, but I'd always enjoyed that creativity side, and that kind of carried through into 2020. And I think one of my first maps was a monthly track contest, which was an ice track, which somehow managed to come out on top. But um, I mean the competition now would be much stiffer, but nonetheless managed to come away with the victory on that one. But yeah, I'd heard about Waypoint um, from the from the numerous competition maps they do, and us. That was the kind of style I wanted to go in. I wanted to build competition maps. I wanted to show, not show, but I wanted to portray what the players want. I wanted that chance. So, and I heard about this thing, Waypoint Academy. So I thought, well, probably not going to get in, but worth a try. You're not going to know until you try. And for some reason they decided to take me on. But yeah, and then it was a case of uh, you know getting feedback from from some of the top mappers in the game. So just to name a few, there's tons, but Kiesler, Rocket, Clear Vision, etc., etc. But yeah, get that kind of such in detailed feedback from them was so invaluable, and yeah, I managed to kind of take a bit of that on, and yeah, when it came to the time of them kind of deciding what who to take on, if anyone, from the academy. I was coming home from work one day and I got the text from Kiesler, and it said, yeah, we'd like to continue with you, and that was a good ride home. I put the music on and it was great. But yeah, and then it's just kind of gone from there really. So.
Are there any specific members that you would say maybe before Waypoint were a huge inspiration to you, and then when you joined were a huge influence on you? I know you mentioned Kiesler and Clear Vision and Raquette giving a lot of feedback. Is there any others that maybe you would say were the changing point for you in terms of your mapping and your mapping style?
Yeah, so a good thing with the academy is that you're able to get into some of the projects that the main team do as well. So one of them was the Trackmania for Hours 24-hour map. I was able to have the chance to build a section for that. So that was quite good. But for me, I think I failed to mention that yeah, Ski Freak. Ski Freak was he's very passionate about the game, but it's brilliant. He portrays the points very clearly, and he's been a very very good influence for me. And I very highly rate him as a mapper in general. But
Yeah.
he's stuck in the map review, so we're still waiting for that track of the day from Ski. But I think there's numerous. But one to mention is Simo 900. Whilst I didn't have any kind of interpersonal contacts during my academy period, but as I mentioned, I was playing Fasten Your Seatbelts on uh, on TMNF, Team Germany United Forever, as well as Bird of Prey, and that they were the maps which kind of got me into the game. I every time I'd go onto the server, I would specifically request those maps just to try and finish them. But yeah, they were the maps that I really enjoyed, and yeah, I'm very thankful to Simo for kind of getting me into the game in general.
Yeah. It's interesting that the two mappers that you mentioned are arguably probably the two best transitional best mappers within the game, at least in my opinion. And I think it's Ski who mentions that the thing that determines like a good mapper from a great mapper is their approach to transitions, basically. Because I feel like there's so many good mappers now within Trackmania, and a lot of people could probably build like a competent route or a good route. And I think the thing that separates the good from the great is how they approach transitions and how they implement those into their maps, because they are the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think one way to, at least for me, I find this, which is a good way to kind of get a gauge of how good good, but in this example, transitions, how good the transitions are or how well built they are is I would watch a video of the track or a GPS of the track. Um, and there was a one recently built by Victor, I think, of course. Incredible map. But yeah, I pretty much most turns and most jumps, I was just making very questionable noises of just how satisfying they were. But yeah, as you say, Jorday, there's a ton of good mappers. That's there's fine things here and there which makes the those certain mappers just a little bit ahead of everyone else. But yeah, it's yeah, transitions is a hard art to nail, which I haven't been able to do yet.
Oh no, I'd
For
say
me,
you
at
definitely have
least,
nailed that.
I was gonna say, for me at least, mapping isn't something that I'm personally familiar with. Like, I've barely loaded up the track editor, and when I have, I just realize that I'm so confused by everything and don't know what I'm doing, and just kind of give up after a few minutes. But for you, like, obviously, like it's the same game, right? You're still loading up Trackmania, and ordinarily Trackmania is constant self improvement, constant focus, concentration, um, and just trying to improve your times and self improve as well. But to have that mapping element in the game, is mapping something for you that you can just kind of sit down and it's very zen, chill, like very peaceful? Or is that something that's quite grindy for you as well? And like, are you very nitpicky and perfectionist? Is it something that kind of grinds your gears, or are you like super chill when you're mapping?
Yeah, I think probably the. I mean, sometimes the former. If I'm stuck on ideas and I just can't quite think of something, then it can be a bit tedious. But a lot of the time, I'll put on some music, and for those who've kind of watched my streams, you'll know I enjoy my music probably a bit too much, but I put on some music, and yeah, I find it quite peaceful, to be honest. I think even the scenery, it's building the route, but also the scenery is enjoyable as well. It's kind of a yeah, as you said, Orion, it's almost like a meditative process.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, putting on the music, relaxing, and yeah, it feels it's a nice process, to be honest. So
And who would you say? I can't remember if we talked about this on a previous episode, but who would you say is your uh, the best track of the day style mapper within Trackmania, and who's the best competitive style mapper within the scene? Because for me, I think the standout compared to everyone else in terms of track of the day style is obviously Vixer. He can do
mm,
every style to its max potential, and I don't think many people can really argue with that. But
yeah,
I think for competitive, uh, maybe it's a bit controversial, but I think for me the best competitive style mapper is Mephisto. I
hmm
feel like for me he absolutely nails the right level of creativity within a comp map. Um, I think a lot of people when they build their comp maps, they somewhat come across samey in terms of style, and they kind of stick to one type of thing. Where Mephisto, I feel like, kind of pushes the boundaries a bit in terms of creative mapping, and I think Roxy is another shout. He definitely pushes the limits. But who would you say the two are for you?
Yeah, I think I'd probably have to agree with you on best track of the day mapper. I think, yeah, Victor is extremely talented. There's a reason why he's mapper of the year. He's
Yeah.
rising star. Well, he is, I say rising star. He's the best to basically the best at the moment. But yeah, as you say, he's very very capable. The things he sees that I just don't see anyone else attempting and
Yeah.
pulls it off is phenomenal. We saw that in his advanced campaign. Being able to have 25 different track styles, 25 different surfaces, 25 different scenery types. It's just incredibly well done, and every single one of those tracks are extremely high quality. But there are loads others. There's we found many good maps from like Deadfish, for instance. He's incredibly good at building satisfying routes. But yeah, there's so many. There's so many good ones. But I think moving on to competitive, I think harder to pinpoint because a lot of the time, as you say, Jorday, it's what you prefer to drive on. For me, I quite enjoy the routes from Mephisto as well. I think that kind of creativity and his unique scenery is very very eye catching. You get a lot of the time where maps feel the same or they look the same, and Mephisto he separates that completely. You've also got CLM Clear Vision Rockets. I love all their maps, and again, they're just names that pop out, but there are so many others that are extremely talented. So yeah,
Any
it's hard to
banana
say.
enjoyers?
I'll type one, to be honest. I'll type one on that, especially with back. I'll be honest. Back and forth was good fun. I did enjoy that, but even Massa was saying, I think that obviously for those who watched his discovery at the at the beginning of stage one, that summarised it. But no, by the end, I think he rather enjoyed the map, but relatively so. But yeah, no, I think Banano is what I really admire with Banano and Scarswell. To be fair, I did mention Scarswell, but they both take risks, and sometimes it doesn't work out, but sometimes it can really work. And I don't have that. I don't have the coolness. Is that if that's the word? The cool that one. But yeah, I don't have that. Um, but yeah, admiration to Banana and Scarzo for pushing the bounds out of what's possible in the map editor.
Yeah,
I just
the
want
one
to.
thing. Oh, go on.
Sorry, I was going to say I just want to kind of close out this segment by also shouting out another well-known UK mapper, and that's Prof 10,
Mhm.
who makes such good speed tech maps. Like
Yeah,
he's been churning them out for probably 18 months now, I would say, in his three styles. I think he's got like Akita, which is the Japanese one, and he's got oh, what's the Viking one? I can't remember. You guys might know, but
Oh,
I
is it?
can't remember. He's got like the
Oh, is it like
Viking style.
Norgard or
Yeah,
something like that?
mm,
that's it. Yeah, yeah. And then there's oh yeah, it's like the Martian based style as well. And then he's done maps which like have portals going between each of the different styles. But yeah, they are gorgeous maps and they're a lot
Yeah.
of fun to drive. Like
yeah,
once you actually nail them as well.
yeah.
I love
I'd
that he's
I'd
heading
yeah.
towards the vanilla style, and I don't know if that's because of uh the changes Nadeo have made to wanting lighter maps for when console release comes around. But
Mm.
I think one thing people might have said about Prof in the past was that he's a bit of a Blender scenery type person that can't redo scenery or anything outside of Blender. and he's obviously proved that with his recent maps.
Yeah,
I can't remember
his
the names
recent
of
maps
them.
are insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very talented mapper. I completely. I'll say this for literally every single name I'd forgotten, but yeah, yeah, the Prof is incredibly good, and as you say, his recent maps. So the Christmas calendar project he did with I think it was Whiskey, that was just phenomenal. I mean, both the route was incredibly creative, and the scenery was just anyway. That's yeah, I think, and also I can't remember the name of it, but the most recent one, but it kind of set in the space station. Again, full vanilla scenery, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels like you're in another world. He's incredibly talented.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is there any more points to bring up?
I think we've covered anything, unless there's anything you want to say without being questioned, Whizzy.
I'd
Any
say,
burning messages?
I think from my side, it's I'll say this, which was that at the start of 2020, I'll have to check. Either way, I was watching the Trackmania Grand League Winter Series, so 21, I think, and I was like, oh yeah, we'll have a go. We'll have a go at building a Grand League map. Obviously, not thinking anything of it, I emailed it to you know some sort of Nadio email. Of course, didn't get a response, but I never. I'll be honest, I never thought that I'd be able to be where I am at today. So I think yeah, I've too many people to thank to name any of this. There's too many, with everyone and supporting me, and but also the people giving me feedback on some of the maps that aren't so good. You The only way you learn is by getting things wrong. So although it's hard to take in, of course. If people don't like a certain map, so for instance my turbo endurance map was quite a hard one to swallow, but yeah, I try to filter it out, and yeah, I have to thank Grenadian and Lars for really speaking their mind. We'll say, but it allows me to learn, and I've still so much to learn. So you know, basically anyone who plays my maps, I thank you.
Lovely stuff. There's yeah, I think that's I imagine probably come to the end of the podcast now, because we're approaching 2 hours. Okay, wow, that was longer than I thought it was. It felt like a lot shorter than that. That's pretty wild. But yeah, thank you for coming along, Whizzy. It's nice to hear your insight on everything really, on mapping and on BIPC and how you started. But yeah, and thank you to everyone tuning in as well. We'll see you next week, I imagine. Is there any final messages from Whizzy around?
I think
Yeah.
from me, I think yeah. Again, thanks everyone for watching, and yeah, I think make sure to tune in for BIPC. I think it's going to be an incredible competition. So and seriously, anyone can take it. So it's gonna be mega. So
Yeah, well, we will close out on that then. BIPC will be live on this channel on Saturday. I will be casting alongside Nualaoch from 2:45. Seeding event is at 2 o'clock, but we will not be streaming that because nobody will watch because everyone will be playing. But we'll also be streaming Sunday as well, which I believe is the start of the top 24 playoffs. I don't know schedules exactly, so I'm just guessing. And then finals will be decided on the 8th and 9th. So that is 1 week after. We will have a podcast in between at 8 p.m. Wednesday next week. Don't know who the guests will be yet. It will probably be me, Babz, Jorday hosting. But yeah, I think that just about wraps things up for episode 3 of Cup of the Day. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you Whizzy, and thank you also to Slay for joining us, and thank you Jorday for being a wonderful co-host. But that is all she wrote for tonight, and we will be back next week with the podcast, but back on Saturday for BIPC.